What are you doing?
I'm reversing the polarity of the ultrasonic screwdriver's power source.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
I just reversed the polarity.
Welcome to the Fan of the Fool, everyone. I'm the fan, Matt Antonelli.
I'm the fool, Alex Cameron.
Alex Cameron.
Matt Antonelli.
I have never been so excited to do this episode.
Oh, I thought you were going to say ever.
No, that this is like, I feel like these episodes that we're going to look at, like a real, like, big moment, historic moment in the series, like a turning point. Like, this is where it was like, now we know what we're doing. You know what I mean? Also, because something big happens.
Something big happens, and I didn't know if that's what you meant, because I was like...
It's part of that, because... Yeah.
It's the first time it kind of happens?
Yeah, and it shows that something can happen, and the show can still go on.
I see.
You know what I mean?
I know we're kind of talking a bit cryptically.
Because we'll get to that. We don't want to give away spoilers for a show from the 1960s.
Christmas has come early for Matthew. He loves these episodes.
I love Christmas. Christmas comes every year. It's been a long day, okay? So, before we get into this week's episode, yes. I'm going to do my new segment of reviewing the modern Doctor Who episode.
Oh, part 2.
Part 2, okay, because we're up to the second episode of the latest season with Jodie Whittaker.
Yes. And
without spoiling anything for you, I think great.
Good.
Very good. Very solid. There's a classic villain, and it's pretty good. There's a villain who's pretty crazy and, like, terrifying.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Different villain. Two different villains.
Yeah.
And I am still a little bit perplexed by the Doctor's new companion, because they've got a new companion. Like, he literally time travels in this episode, and he's a bit, like, unfazed.
That's happened?
Yeah.
Right. It didn't take long for the current Doctor's crew, as in mine, the first Doctor, to kind of, after a couple of times, go, oh yeah, we're traveling through space.
Yeah, but it was a couple of times. I feel like this guy's just, like, hit the ground running. He's just like, yeah. Although, maybe by that point, everyone's just like, yeah, time travel.
Yeah, time travel.
Like the 2160s.
That's true. They're so into time travel, their calendars just have years now. You're in this year.
Ooh. It should have said that above that year.
What?
You're in this year. You're in this year.
And in the year, then. Ooh.
Yes. Well, look, I'm actually very interested because coming back to this episode that we watched.
Yeah.
Because I loved a lot of it because of, I guess, nostalgia. Whereas you're a bit like, whatever.
No, I definitely enjoyed them.
Yeah, but I enjoy them from the point of view of being like, this character is significant and this has happened.
Right. I don't know what I was expecting. I think maybe I was expecting more of a twist because I've told you a couple of things that I feel like will happen in the show, and I thought maybe one of those was going to happen and they didn't.
I think last week you said that David
Yep.
was going to come with them.
Yes. But I also have said throughout our podcast history that I thought there might be a revelation about Susan's relationship to the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That she's not really his granddaughter, and that didn't happen. You're right, I did think that maybe David would just join them and they'd continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other thing? I thought, and I knew it was going to happen now, but I feel like at some point Barbara's going to die.
Oh, you can keep that one going, because she's still in the show.
Yeah.
But everything with Susan was a bit different, I think, than you thought it was going to be.
For sure.
Because I guess if you were watching this as a casual viewer, it probably would seem like a twist, because...
That's a good point.
You didn't expect that character to leave.
I mean, that would happen nowadays. Like, if Friends came out today and suddenly one of them got left on a different planet at a different time, you'd be shocked.
Yes.
So
because that's not really suit that show.
No, but you don't lose one of the main characters for no reason.
Yeah. Alright, I think before we get too deep...
Okay.
We're going to do the segment.
Which segment now?
The item.
Oh, by the way, and we forgot last week, we have a song now. Ready?
Yep.
Is it Doctor Who?
Who? Is that right?
Perfect. First time.
Okay, I kind of forgot what I was supposed to do.
We're never forgetting that again. That's our segment.
Alright, so I brought a thing.
Oh, yes. Should I begin describing, or do you want to say anything more?
No, it's your thing to describe.
It's a multicolored scarf.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the trickiest so far.
I tried to find something tricky.
You are clever, because I know the doctors often have extreme outfits. And this is not super extreme, but you wouldn't wear it every day.
No, I wouldn't wear it any day.
But you're not a Doctor Who, so who wants it now?
Yeah.
Ooh. I know I keep repeating this, but I feel like it's more like a Harry Potter thing than a Doctor Who thing.
Okay.
Face pulled by Matthew. I don't know if that means anything. Can I look at it more, or am I going to see something I shouldn't see on there?
I don't think you'll see anything you're not supposed to see.
Okay. I feel like I'm going to be wrong this time, but I feel like it's not a Doctor Who item.
It's a Doctor Who item!
Oh, damn.
So, it is a multicolored scarf, correct?
Yep.
Now, it could have just been any old scarf, but it is actually the exact same scarf. Well, not the exact same scarf, but it's a replica. Mm-hmm. The same scarf worn by the 4th Doctor.
Oh, so not that far into the future.
Not that far into the future.
Wow.
It's a good scarf, too.
It is. Does Harry Potter wear a multicolored scarf? Or
I think he
someone on that
wears
show?
like a Gryffindor coloured scarf.
Maybe that's
like
what
the
made me-
red-orangey thing.
Maybe that's what made me think of it. Well done, you got me this time.
The one time.
Has it?
Alex 12, Matt 1.
That's true. No, you're right.
Although the first couple episodes, I don't think we did it. I think I just showed you geeky things.
That's true. And then I started to try and guess. And also, one week you just showed me a bookshelf. But I knew it wasn't
bookend.
Doctor Who. A
No,
bookend.
but you thought it was Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But I guess the segment's not called Is It Harry Potter thing.
So now I've learnt a rule for myself. Never think it's a Harry Potter thing. Because if I think that it's wrong, and it's a Doctor Who thing, or it's not a Doctor Who thing.
What if I
But
just
it's
bring
not
a Harry Potter thing next week?
Well, there we go. Maybe that's what you should try and do.
It's a tactic. That's a good tactic.
See, I'm building principles around this game for myself now.
Okay, well, you should probably keep some of them to yourself so that I don't...
But
Beat
what
with-
if there's 60 of them? Then how are you going to stop me? You're going to apply all 60 principles?
Yep.
Okay,
Alright,
let's roll.
you ready?
What's next? I'm ready.
We're ready. We're going to do the episodes.
We are.
So last week, we watched episodes 1 through 3 of the Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Let me clarify like we always do. The first half of this story arc of this season of Classic Doctor Who.
Season 2,
Season 2.
episodes 4 to 6.
Yes.
Where were we?
Ian and a buddy of his who he's found on the planet. I can't remember his name.
Earth, by the way, the planet.
The planet Earth. Well, it is a planet. We're in the middle of like a device that's taking him down to the bottom of the mine shaft.
Correctamundo.
Barbara and a blonde lady,
Jenny.
after they had...
So, I'll fill in those gaps for you.
Okay, because I'm getting myself confused now. They are travelling. They were in the museum.
They were in the museum.
After the guy in the wheelchair had basically saved their life and given his up.
Yep.
And they have to now travel and try to get to where everyone else is.
They want to get to the rest of the resistance. Yep.
And the Doctor was still passed out. Or had he woken up?
He had woken up
Yeah.
because he gets up at the start of the episode. But there's a bomb that's been left there
Yes, by the Daleks.
by the Daleks, by some Robo-Men.
Yes.
Now, it's the return of my favourite segment, which is
Is it Doctor Who?
which cast member is not present, really.
At certain points and is on
Yeah,
holiday?
because it's not really holiday. It's kind of like a forced holiday.
Oh. Outside of circumstances in the episode?
No, within.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to guess Doctor Who.
Who, the actor?
Yes, the actor.
Yeah, William Hartnell.
William Hartnell.
He was injured on set. So he actually
Oh.
hurt his back and was temporarily paralysed.
Because I remember thinking, man, I haven't seen the Doctor for a while when he suddenly came back.
Yeah, so At the start of the episode...
He was what? Temporarily paralyzed?
Yeah. We'll trivia it.
Okay,
so he's not in it.
Not this episode.
This episode. He's in the next two, significantly.
That's why I thought he was still passed out, because I knew that he wasn't in much of this episode.
Yeah, so the trio, in this case, the Doctor, Susan, and David...
Yes.
They come across the firebomb, which is what the thing is called, that the Daleks have left there.
Oh, okay.
And I think originally the script would have had the Doctor do all the diffusing of that firebomb, but David has to just be really clever and solve it himself. So the Doctor passes out. It says on the wiki that the shock coupled with the drugs causes the Doctor to pass out, but he's just, the act is injured.
The shock of being paralyzed.
He's actually not. William Hartnell isn't actually in this episode at all.
Right.
The guy we see at the start is his stunt double stand-in guy.
Oh, I didn't even notice the difference.
No, his voice is in it. I think they just kind of put it in.
Yeah.
And he's like, he passes out.
They just said, he's screaming from being paralyzed and hurt. Let's use this.
Yeah, so David uses the acid from one of the bombs to kind of diffuse the firebomb.
That's
from one of Dortmund's.
And that's my first point about this episode. Is that the safest way to defuse a bomb? Is to pour acid on it?
I think what he was trying to do was melt the outside of the bomb, so you could get to the countdown thing.
And I agree.
And then pull it out. I understand it's not the safest.
How do you tell the acid to then stop?
Acid can't melt time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is that a Doctor Who principle?
It is this episode.
Acid can't melt time.
Acid can't melt time.
Nice.
So I thought it was also really interesting that David was, after they defused the bomb, which, by the way, the bomb was put down at the end of episode 3, and there was a big zoom in of dun, 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 and then he just diffuses it within the first couple minutes. And I thought that was a bit interesting.
That is true. It was very dramatic, and I thought it was really cool the way they thought to do that, because it kind of makes it more suspenseful.
I thought they were going to spend a lot of time trying to defuse that bomb when I first watched it.
Right.
But no, just melt straight through it. And then the David and Susan.
You did call him that last time.
David and Susan.
Let's call him the David.
I meant to say something at the start, but it's fine.
Say it.
No, I can't say it. Yeah, I'll say it. I'll save it for later.
Okay,
it's coming.
But you did call him the David last time, so we will forever call him the David.
David and
who?
The David and Susan.
Yes.
Have a bit of a moment where he's like, "We got to go to the Resistance," and Susan's like, "I can't leave Grandfather," and he's just like, "Well, we'll hide him." That baffles me, but I guess if the actor can't move, then the character also can't move. So they'll explain to him that they're going to go get help.
Yep.
And they'll just leave the Doctor there.
Question.
Yep.
Making the Doctor pass out within this full story arc earlier.
Yeah.
Was that because of what happened to his back, or was that just very convenient and they could use that?
I guess it was convenient because his injury happened in the production of this whole arc. So he's only injured when they started filming this bit.
That's amazing. Any other character had that happen instead of him, and it would have been much harder to hide the fact that he wasn't present.
Yeah.
Very convenient, don't you think?
Well, do you think it was too convenient? Then they deliberately injured his back?
He just wanted a holiday.
Just wanted a holiday.
So he paralysed himself?
Well, I think it's very interesting. So he gets paralysed during the production, and he is so keen to come back. I reckon season 1, when he didn't know how big it was, he would have milked that for all it's worth.
To get out of production.
But now he tries to come back super quick. So that's why he is back the next 2 episodes.
Yes.
Even though he's probably not actually fully recovered. But you can't tell.
No.
because he's got a lot of energy.
He's very physical.
But I think he knew that the episodes would be quite important.
And he wanted to be part of them.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
So, David, Susan, they leave the Doctor behind. And we cut to Barbara and Jenny. Now, I think their plan isn't that interesting. Like, their plan is to get to the Daleks, basically, or get to the Resistance, rather, and then come up with a plan of, like, how to stop the Daleks.
Right.
But I think what is interesting is their interactions with one another. So Jenny's obviously very negative. She's like, there's no point to any of this. We're just going to drive and then we're going to get caught. And Barbara's very optimistic. So she's like, no. Like, what else are we going to do? Should we stay here and die, or at least try and move? So I think that was quite interesting. But as far as their plan goes, like, they were going to drive that truck.
Yes.
I do have a thing.
I just want to quickly say,
Yep.
Barbara really shuts it down by saying, you realise that Dortmund basically gave his life to spare us, so maybe don't have such a big cry about it, let's get moving.
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to waste his sacrifice by having a cry in a museum by yourself.
Now, I know this is later, but I think maybe we should do that thing like we did last time where we kind of follow people for a bit and then follow the other people.
Agreed.
So they do fix the truck.
Yes.
And they do get it started and they do roll off.
Yes.
And they have to get past, I guess what you'd call like a Dalek checkpoint.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, a road checkpoint.
And there's like 5 Daleks, because by the way, they only had 6 made for this episode. They had 4 from the previous story.
Yeah.
And in the last episode, we talked about the trivia where 2 of them they had donated to a children's home that they then brought back for this. Plus, they built 2 more. Plus, they had their inflatable ones. So there's 4 in this scene. I think there could be 5, but I think there's 4.
Yeah.
And the truck is driving, and Barbara does a bit of like well, they've either got us or we just go for it. And she just slams straight through one.
Floors it.
And she kills the Dalek, like, with the truck.
Yep.
I was like, because I highly doubt modern day Doctor Who that could happen.
Oh, really?
I think they've gotten stronger. But I just thought it was funny that like she killed one with her truck. That was pretty awesome.
I made a point about that too, because basically, as usual, Barbara is the hero.
I put what a good explosion after that, by the way.
Yes.
That was pretty good.
Is that the first time? Because I know that they've dealt with the Daleks before and they powered them down. Previous story arc where they met them. Is this the first time one of the characters that we know has just completely destroyed one?
The first, kill, I guess.
And it was Barbara.
It's Barbara.
She's the hero.
Like, of the TARDIS team. I guess technically you could say, actually, that they killed the one that came up the elevator. Remember that one in the Daleks?
Oh,
they pushed the statue down the elevator chute.
Yes, that's a good point.
So there's that one.
Okay.
But this is still the first time, single-handedly, that one of them
just blows into him with a car.
Yes.
A truck, sorry. That was great.
I think there's a character later on who beats a Dalek with like a mop.
Yes.
No, not in this.
Oh, I'm
talking about in the far future.
Okay, well, I'm saying that towards the end of this story arc, when there's a particular event, you do see one guy basically push one in half as he's attacking it.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what you meant.
No. Didn't mean that.
They get stronger in the future, is what you're saying. Well, not in the future, in the future of the show. Future.
Yeah. So I think that's a good place to kind of leave them.
Oh, that's who Barbara's working with,
Jenny. Yeah, Jenny. And
she was rolling.
Yes. So the bit that I put good explosion for, there's a Dalek saucer, like a spaceship above them, and they jump out of the lorry as it blows up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty good.
Because after they driven through that checkpoint, they're like, okay, it's time for drastic measures.
Yeah, let's do this thing. And while that's happening, Ian and Larry are travelling through Bedfordshire. Or Bedfordshire? I'm not English. How do you say that?
Bedfordshire?
Bedfordshire?
Okay, this is how an Australian would say it. Bedfordshire.
Bedfordshire.
So they're travelling through Bedfordshire?
And this is where...
We're going to get crucified for that.
They're now in the middle of... Because they've gone down that shaft. Like, they're in the middle of, like, peak mining area.
Yep.
And so there's, like, slaves, and there's a bit of a scene, I think, where they see some slaves, like, dragging stuff around. I think Jenny and Barbara also see slaves from the side of the road. Being
controlled by...
Roboman. And so they come across a guy called Wells, who they think he's also an escaped person, but turns out he's a slave to the Daleks. But he tells them to hide as a Roboman comes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to help, because I think the Roboman just sees them anyway.
Well, Larry and Ian are hiding behind storage containers for rocks that the slaves are grabbing. So their cover is literally being pulled apart in front of them. And he's like, you should probably move.
Yeah.
And then they do make the worst attempt ever to do so.
But then Wells tells... So Ian and Larry take down the Roboman, and Wells tells them about a guy called Ashton who comes into the slave encampment and gives them supplies. Now, if we keep following them, when they actually meet Ashton, so they hide in like a abandoned room.
Yep.
And when they actually meet Ashton, he's a bit of a jerk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's like, give me some precious stones and stuff, and I'll give you some food or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, man, what's all that going to do for you anyway?
And Larry's trying to negotiate and be like, this is not just some dude. Like, we're trying to, take down what's going on with the Daleks, and he doesn't care. He just wants his jewels.
Yeah. And I didn't get that. I was like, you know that they aren't worth anything.
Yeah, this is
you can't sell them to anyone.
This is the end of the world.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that? At least do it for something that will be useful.
Yeah.
And also, you're getting in and out of this place. Why not just take everyone... whatever. I suppose he doesn't also want to draw attention to himself, because I guess if you took everyone with you, you then have a crowd of people following you.
Also, if you're that dark a character that you're willing to trade food for jewels with slaves, you want them to stay in that trapped position, because then they're forced to keep trading with you.
Yeah. So Ashton agrees to kind of help them go out of the city. They have to pay him. So I think Larry is the one that really pays for them.
Yes.
Because Ian, I guess, doesn't have any money. Now, this whole time, there's also been... Sorry. This whole time, there's also been like a weird creature kind of just stalking them outside.
Yes.
Now, I didn't understand really what the weird creature was.
It's not addressed after this one scene.
No. But I think it said that the Black Dalek, like the Dalek that's in charge,
yes,
likes to have like weird pets.
Yeah, it was a pet.
Which is a weird thing for me to hear, because like Daleks don't do anything.
So that never happens. To your knowledge, that doesn't happen in the future.
For like leisure, like have a pet around.
Yeah.
No. Although there's some characters that they keep, that the Doctor's like, oh, this is one of your pets. But there's more circumstances, like there's more reasons why they keep some things alive.
It's not just like having a pet dog or something.
No.
Yeah.
It's as in, if they kill that pet, there'll be massive repercussions for them.
Right.
In those stories.
Yep.
Now, I like what's in the wiki here, because it's completely correct. Ashton is unsympathetic. So they're like, we're going to go join the Resistance and stop the Daleks, and he's like, eh. But he does let them out. Well, I say he'll lead them out, but then they get attacked by the monster, which just seems to come into the room.
Yeah, like, this guy acts like he's in this hidden shack
Yeah.
for trading, and yet the monster just walks in. But you know what? Good, because it attacks him.
And then so he gets killed, presumably off screen. You hear him scream.
He has all his jewels forever, so well done.
And
loser.
Ian and Larry run away from the monster.
Yeah.
Until they get to a cliff face. And then I think for them in this episode, their story ends.
Yes.
But we know what happens next.
Yes.
David and Susan. Okay, so I put here, David shows off a gun to Susan. So he's all like, check out this gun.
I did write this down too.
And I thought what Susan says is very interesting because she's been with the doctor and I think she's even said before, like, you know, the doctor doesn't like guns. We don't really do that kind of thing. But here she's like, do you have any spares? Is what she says. She said, you don't have one to spare? And he's all like, no, I've just got this one. As if she would take a spare gun.
Yeah, like she knows what she'd do with it.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that she would ask for a weapon at all.
Can I tell you, this is the most timely episode. Do you know why? David loads the gun while pointing it at his face. And
does he?
Yes. I can show you if you like. Literally, the gun is pointed towards his head like this as he's looking at it and putting bullets into it. And I just thought, with the recent news, I cannot believe I just watched that in an episode.
I suppose in the 60s you just do whatever.
It's just, I was like, I actually felt sick because I was like, ugh. A thing just happened that's very tragic because of people not dealing properly with guns on sets, whatever happened there. And then this guy's just like, oh yeah, this is how you load a gun.
And then Tyler, so another resistance guy, rocks up. And like they both, I guess, draw weapons on each other initially because they're like, oh my gosh, there's another person.
Yeah.
And then they realise it's just each other. And he tells them about the alligators that live in the sewers.
Yes. Which
I was like, oh, okay. We're going to go this way. And then they walk through because I think what we see next. So they keep walking, and I'm going to follow them for a bit. I'm not sure if this goes to the next episode, but this is what I can remember.
No, I think this is this episode.
So they walk through. Well, I've got it is. We've got the wiki open just to like reference to, just to make sure we're on the right episode
and on right track because we get distracted.
So Susan and David have a moment because Susan's like, oh my gosh, this, you know, I've seen Earth in the 60s and now I'm seeing the Earth now and it's all destroyed and there's no hope and, you know, I'll have to just move on or whatever.
Yeah.
And David's like, oh, but, you know, we can rebuild and we can make it a lovely planet and why don't we rebuild? Why don't you help us rebuild?
That's right.
And she's pretty like, well, I'm not sure. Like she's uncertain about what to do, but she basically says like her place is with her grandfather.
Yeah, she doesn't have a physical place to call home where she belongs.
Yes. So all through these episodes, David is constantly like, you know, I feel like something that kind of tainted my experience of their relationship is the fact that her actress, even though I know Carolyn Ford at this point is like 24, she's still playing someone who's supposed to be like 15, 16. And there's this guy who's like...
Not that age.
No, he's definitely older and he's like, you should live with me. Like in a nice way, but still... Look, and I get she's also like, she's not... Well, probably not. I know for certain, I'll tell you at the end of the episode, human.
Right.
So she might look 15, 16, but actually be, I don't know, hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
But she still looks like her actress has been told to play a 15/16-year-old.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
Yeah. It just...
Which
The first time I watched this, I didn't have that context. I was just like, oh, this is a nice episode.
Right.
And now I'm like, Oh, like because now I've read more.
Which makes a decision that the Doctor makes later very weird.
Particularly because last week he was all like, "You need a smack bottom," and now he's just like, you've grown so much.
You're a young woman.
You're a young woman.
Really?
Well, I guess she is technically.
Yeah, but you can't have both. You can't have the old Shrek donkey line of a smack bottom and then talk about her like she's a young woman.
Correct. So anyway,
if you're her grandfather,
they reach a point.
Yes.
All right, Alex, come on.
Oh, by the way,
there's no time for a smack bottom. Let's go.
Oh, jeez. This is a different kind of podcast than I was expecting. By the way, the Black Dalek's pet monster is called a Slither.
Slither?
I just saw it on there,
yes.
and I remember the name. I wrote it down in my notes. But do you ever see that again, to your knowledge, in the show?
Not to my knowledge.
It
didn't really have any features. It was like a bunch of plants with a mouth.
Yeah, but it's so... I feel like it's weird to introduce a character like that and make the time to make a costume, and then just have it be a one-off thing that's never used again.
I feel like it could be of that time, though. 2164. Like, maybe there's mutants in that time.
Yeah, that makes sense,
So, and also the Daleks have invaded... Like, it says the Dalek invasion of Earth, but they've invaded. Like, this is post their invasion, really.
Yeah.
And so, the weapons that from our previous encounter... Mm-hmm. They're kind of big on the radiation stuff.
Yes.
So they could have impacted the Earth's ecosystem.
That makes sense.
With radiation.
And a nice, lovely pet.
It could be in the extended stuff, and I've just never heard it in like an audiobook or whatever.
Right, okay.
Now, they're climbing up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the other two, David and Tyler, go up first. Because David says, if we go up this way, we can get the Doctor and continue on.
Yep.
Which I don't know how that happens, but there you go.
So have they basically travelled through the sewers back to where they started?
Yeah, I guess. Because the Doctor wouldn't have moved.
Maybe they needed Tyler to help them carry the Doctor out.
I think they were looking for help.
Well, that's what Tyler is, I guess.
I guess he is.
Maybe that's why they're going back
So
now.
Tyler goes up, David goes up, Tyler's like, there's the Doctor's here. I love how in here it says, Tyler says that he's found the Doctor, but, I guess I vaguely remember, and maybe I need to go back and watch it because I actually did watch this on whatever day we were supposed to record.
A few days ago.
And then I had sign language assessment.
There you go.
So I did that. I passed, everyone. Certificate to an Auslan. Here I come.
Well done.
Thank you. Actually, a deaf applause is this.
Oh, shaking spirit fingers. Spirit hands.
Oh, please don't call it spirit fingers. Because I guess that's spirit fingers?
Yeah.
I think that's rain. Anyway, off track. So, I think the funniest thing... So Susan climbs up this ladder.
Yes.
And an alligator attacks her. Now, I think I've said ladder fails because it breaks up.
Yep.
But it's clearly a tiny alligator.
I put baby alligator.
It's tiny. They did say that they're like mutated sewer alligators, right? So maybe it's a big alligator that just appears like a small alligator. But it did not look scary.
I don't think it served the episode because you're told to be scared of these sewer alligators, and then they show you one and it's a baby alligator.
I think they should have said crocodile. But it's England, so I guess they don't have crocodiles.
Well, they should have also said, by the way, they're tiny, so that you don't build up this expectation of a monster, and then it's like a little...
Oh yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Beware
Beware of
the alligators, and then Tyler just goes, no, they're tiny.
Maybe they could only get a baby alligator or crocodile on set. Or the person who...
That was not on set. That was like pre-recorded images.
So what? They could only find a baby alligator.
That's a good point. Because I guess, the 60s, would they have like a documentary with an alligator in it?
Possibly.
So that's probably clips of that.
Maybe they could only find the baby one.
Maybe back then people were too terrified to go with a camera into the wild to look at alligators.
So they just took what they could.
A baby alligator.
It's pretty funny because of how much they build up the fear of it.
Alright, and I think that brings us to the end of this episode.
Agreed.
Okay? So, good. Let me turn my page to my next set of notes.
Next episode, The Walking Ally. That's The Waking Ally, sorry.
I think that is the Doctor. The Waking Ally. He wakes up.
That's a good point, because it's not... It's kind of an obscure title.
So...
Actually, all of them are. Listen to this. The first one in this part of the story arc is called, that we've watched this episode, The End of Tomorrow.
Yep.
Why didn't you just put The End of the World?
Well, I think they called it The End of Tomorrow, because that's the... You know how the title appears at the end of the previous episode? And it's like... Next episode.
Oh.
The End of Tomorrow. Because the bomb was there.
And that was going to be the next episode.
That was going to be the End of Tomorrow. But then the bomb was defeated by acid.
And then it's The Waking Ally, which we're guessing is the Doctor.
The Doctor wakes up.
And then the last one is called Flashpoint.
Yes, which I think is probably apt. Because that's like a flashpoint in a war is like a firefight.
You know, I had no idea. That's why I was like, what does that even mean?
You know, like in wars, it will be like, there's a flashpoint here and here, and that means there's a battle happening at those points.
I believe you. I just have never heard that before.
Ooh.
Normally I've heard them called, there's a battle over there.
Or, well, I guess I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. That's the only thing that makes sense. Is it matches the event, which I don't want to spoil yet.
Ian kills the monster. So in the previous episode, they were at the side of a cliff.
Yep.
With a very conveniently placed, like, what is it called? It's the little the lift thing.
It's like a
carriage.
Yes.
Like a little carriage.
But it's like a goods carriage. I don't think it's meant to be for people.
No, I think they dig up something from down below and it brings it up to that point.
Yeah, the rocks and all that nonsense.
So they jump into that.
Yeah.
And they go down, but the monster jumps onto it.
Yeah.
And then Ian, like, just shoves the monster off.
I did love Ian saying, hopefully it can't jump, as if they're in, like, a video game where you can prevent a person or a monster from jumping.
Yeah, but...
And then it does jump, because of course it can jump, because it has legs.
There's moments in the future, particularly in Dalek episodes, where it's like, phew, we're safe now, because we're, you know...
On the
up
other
a flight of stairs or something.
Okay.
And it's just like, the Dalek's just like, no, I can handle this.
Oh. Okay, I get where that's coming from now.
So...
But they push him off. They push the monster off as it's holding onto the edge of this carriage, or whatever you want to call it.
Now...
Did you like the monster's little whine as it fell? It was like...
It was pretty good. So...
Oh, I actually wrote it down here. Did Doctor Who have a break? So there you go.
There you go. So the Doctor's back. So the Doctor and the team that he's with, and that is Susan, David, and Tyler now. So there's 4 of them.
Correct.
And they're moving through the sewers.
Yep.
And I've got here at 2... I said at 1 minute 30, because the Daleks are talking about whatever. I just put classic Dalek chatter. It's just back and forth of being like, we need to stop this and let's kill them, and, you know, like...
Yeah. I also never realised how much they race around a room.
Yeah, they were like doing a fun dance.
It was really weird.
I noticed that too. I was like, oh, because I thought they were... Because they all kind of... The first one entered the scene, and then a bunch of the other ones just kept coming in. So I think all 6 were on screen, and 5 of them were just like doing a weird dance around the one that was in the middle.
It was probably because they were like, we want them to look like they're mobile, but let's move them in this pattern so they don't crash into each other and break the sets.
Yeah.
So it ended up them just like...
So they've decided...
A do-si-do.
That basically they're entering the next phase of their plan, but they do it in a way that they're like... You know, they're like, we don't need these people anymore. Like, they don't need the slaves anymore. So they're like, oh, you know, we're going to move on to the next part of our plan.
Yep.
Which
we don't know yet.
we don't know yet. I mean, we know that now. We know what it is now.
But in reference to where we are in the episodes at the moment, we don't know.
No. So I thought it was very good. So there's a fight.
Yes.
And the Robomen fight Tyler and David, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit where David's going to get, like, I guess, killed. Probably not killed, but he's losing. And Susan's like, no, and she runs in and, like, starts helping. And then the doctor steps in, and I thought it was brilliant. So he has his cane.
Yep.
And he just goes to town, and he's just, like, whacking one of them. And it's good. It's a good show of, like, yeah, this guy, he can do a bit of a brawl. Because David had his gun.
Yep.
But he loses it in the fight. Like a Roboman knocks it out of his hand or whatever.
Right.
So they're tussling, and
he looks like it's about to be over for him.
Yeah. So one of the Robomen's on the ground.
Yeah.
I thought this was really interesting, and I think David has the gun and is like gonna finish off one of the Robomen,
mm-hmm.
and the doctor's like, no, we don't need to kill.
Yep.
Like he's like, I only kill if it's like absolutely necessary.
I never take a life unless my own is threatened, is what he said. And
so it says here, he only kills beings if they pose an immediate threat to him.
And I want to reference back to the very first story arc where Ian stopped the doctor from smacking a caveman over the head with a rock to kill him.
Did we know he was going to do that? He was going to do that. He looked like he was going to do that.
I think we weren't sure, but I feel like it. So I was kind of like,
I think he's learnt. I think he's learnt. I think at that point it might have all been bluster. Like, I'm not sure if he would actually kill him. He might have contemplated it.
Yeah.
And there's definitely points... I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but there's definitely points within the show where he has to make that decision of being like, do I kill this person? And I think what you'll find out, it's one of my favourite things. So when he... And I think this first season and a half really shows like the impact the companions that he travels with have on him.
Yeah. Because
generally it's times when he doesn't have someone else around that he goes to that more extreme stage. And I think I've mentioned that on this before.
Yeah.
You know, and so he's a bit more open to, I've got to stop this by any means necessary, rather than like someone nearby being like, maybe not by any means necessary. You know?
Just relax.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention, you know what it made me think of? His stick attack. You know how he's slamming the guy over? This is real inside baseball. But you know at the end of The Dark Knight, when the Joker and Batman are fighting, and he sets the Joker sets the dogs on Batman, and he comes over and starts whacking him.
Yeah, yeah.
It made me think of that. It was like the exact same kind of intensity, and just he was in a rage.
I wondered if, because he looked like he was going for it, if that was like a prop cane, or if back in those days you just told like the extra who's playing a Roboman. I guess he's not an extra; he's an actor. Sorry.
If you want your pay, you'll take it.
Yeah, he was like, now William Hartnell's going to bash you with his cane. You're just going to have to just take it. We'll pay you extra.
He just had such a, it's not flamboyant, but such a full on
a vigor.
It was like hamming it up. He was really like a whack.
But also the way he steps in. Maybe this is something I should have put on here, like to show you. But the way he just steps into that scene. So Susan runs in to stop Roboman fighting David.
Mm-hmm. Her love. And
the doctor steps in so confidently, and he's like, then just slams that cane down on someone. It's pretty good. Yeah. I think it's pretty. I was pretty impressed.
I literally laughed out loud watching this. You know the LOL? I did an actual... You know how people go LOL?
You mean you did a classic laugh? Like a real laugh?
A real laugh. So you know when people say LOL, what they mean is... You know how you just breathe out your nostrils?
LOL.
Like, haha. That was hilarious. I love that so much.
Did you just breathe out your nostrils into the microphone?
Well, I had to demonstrate what I was saying.
So, Jenny and Barbara, let's go back to them.
Mm-hmm. They also have a very interesting time in this episode.
Yeah, this is another time where I'm like, sometimes people, why? So they come across like a...
As in, the people they're about to interact with, why are you like this?
Mm.
Oh, I thought it could have also been, Barbara, you're smarter than this. You've been a hero for most of these episodes. How are you going to fall for this?
Yeah, well, that, because we're going to get to that now.
Yeah.
Because they come across like a little house that has two, like a mother and daughter, like a pair of crazy people, basically.
Yeah.
Working in it.
I was getting fairy tale witch vibes.
Yeah.
Were you getting that?
Yep.
Especially from the older lady.
Yes, and I actually thought... So Barbara and Jenny mentioned that they're trying to find their way to the Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just looking for shelter. And these women are like, oh, well, you can stay here and we'll, you know... and Sue's...
it's all a bit of negotiation.
And Barbara, offers them tins of food or whatever.
Yeah.
Why did they stay there? Because I think they could have just moved on and be like, oh, we should probably get away from these two crazy women.
Well, from what I remember, they get the same creepy fairy tale witch vibes that we do and go, you know what, we're going to just leave. And then the daughter in the house says, no, there's dogs out there. It's like a wild pack of dogs.
Correct, that's right. Yes, I remember that.
You need to hide in here, and also there's patrols.
At 5 minutes 45, I put that Barbara is too friendly with strange people.
Yep.
She probably needs to just get out of there. But yeah, they mentioned the dogs.
At least not a man this time. There was plenty of men in season 1 that she was friendly with.
2 women that will maybe get her killed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not quite as exciting for Barbara.
So they're like, dogs out there, don't go.
Mm-hmm.
But the daughter goes out. And Barbara's like, how come she's going out? And she's like, oh, she knows the place.
Yeah. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine. You two... Because then, I'd just like to point out, it's Barbara and Jenny with an old woman.
Yep.
Who they think has probably got some plans. Why not just overpower her and leave?
Take the food back.
Yeah.
Because Barbara is definitely suspicious at that point, which is why I was surprised she got tricked in the end.
Yeah. And in the next scene that we see them, a Dalek rocks up.
Yeah.
And is like, you two with me.
Because we find out that the daughter and mother have almost like an agreement with the Daleks.
Mm.
They provide clothes for the workmen, the slaves.
The slaves.
In exchange for being able to live there, basically, and get some food.
Yeah.
So she rats them in and they get taken away by the Daleks. But it actually does them a favour because the Daleks take them where they want to go, which is into the mines.
Yeah. So they even... I'm pretty sure we even hear them say when they get to the mines.
Yeah.
Because Barbara's being super optimistic. She's like, we're closer to where we need to be.
Yeah.
Even though Jenny's like, woe is me.
As usual.
Yeah.
Even if a man sacrifices his life for a Geno is not interested. It's almost like the way the real Geno exploits... what's his name? In the movie. Forrest Gump.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know where we were going.
It's the same thing. In the movie, she even says to him, I know this is not on track, why you do so much nice things? And he's like, I like you, Jono.
Mm-hmm.
She's even like, I'm so horrible to you, and you're still doing all this nice stuff for me. But in Doctor Who, a man can literally die for you, and she's still like, boring.
Speaking of...
I don't like Jenny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, there's some good trivia about her later.
Oh, good. I'm just making that clear now.
Yeah, well, you'll be thankful for my trivia then.
Never liked her, don't care for her, never did.
Oh, well, there's other characters called Jenny. Maybe you'll like one of them.
We'll see.
There's one very significant one. Not this one.
So it's a companion.
Anyway.
Okay. Jono.
Ian and Larry, they're going down the shaft.
Don't they sound like a comedy duo?
Ian and Larry.
And now, Ian and Larry.
Well, yeah. But I don't think Larry is having a good time.
No.
So they're going down the shaft.
Yeah.
And they jump out before it hits the bottom or whatever.
Well, I think they have to make the decision to because it stops, doesn't it?
Yeah. They decide to jump the last 12 feet.
Yes.
And Larry injures his knees, but Ian's fine.
And I want to point out, I know it doesn't sound like a lot. It is a big drop.
6 feet, 12 feet.
12 feet to
12.
just jump.
That's like 2 stories.
Yep. We have a friend who broke his heel jumping 13 feet. Do you remember that?
Did he put a wet cloth on it after?
No, definitely crutches
Okay.
and bandaged up.
Because I put here...
Do you remember that?
Quick Ian, put a wet cloth on his knees.
Oh, there you go. It's a return of the bathing. So now we're bathing knees.
No, but he didn't mention it. I just said that he should have. That would have helped the situation, I think.
Probably. Apparently it's magic. So 12 foot is a long way to jump. If anyone ever says to you it's only 12 feet, do not jump.
Yeah.
Unless you've got water there to bathe your ankles.
Now, at the 8-minute 55 mark, I put the first time that the Daleks say exterminated. So I think they're threatening Barbara and Jenny. Like saying, if you don't come with us, you'll be exterminated.
So did they never use that phrase in the first story arc we see them?
No, I put it here. In the Daleks, they'd never said it.
Did they just say kill him or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they say exterminated there, and that comes up multiple times as well.
Yes.
Um,
And because it's such a big thing, I already know that that's one of their catchphrases forever.
Oh, yeah. So, back in the mine. So, Ian does a bit of detective work.
Mm-hmm.
And so he works out that they're in the mine. That's what he works out.
What a genius.
He works out
Someone
that
hire that guy.
they're in a mine and they're taking stuff out of the ground, but they don't have any kind of equipment to actually process what they're taking out. So he kind of surmises that they're taking stuff out of the ground just to take it out of the ground.
Yeah.
Which I guess kind of gets us closer to the Daleks' master plan.
Because they basically say, there's no... Yeah, you're right. There's no, real electrical equipment. Why are they doing it in such a rudimentary way?
Yeah.
What is their plan going to be?
And then the next bit, they're kind of having a look around, and then they hear people coming, and they hide behind some baskets.
Yes.
And then one of the Robomen who's leading some slaves is like, get to work, grab some baskets, and they start grabbing baskets. Now, this is funny because this is where Larry starts to talk about his brother Phil.
Mm.
And we had no... I felt like this was very quick.
Do you feel like they tacked this on? Because you're right. You feel like Larry could have said something earlier.
Yeah. Because Larry... I think Larry mentions Phil, and then Phil appears.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was mentioned in the previous couple of episodes.
This is why I'm coming with you.
Yeah. It's more... a
surprise.
Yeah, my brother... I haven't heard from my brother Phil. I don't know what's happened to him.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. You know what I mean?
And he's a Robo-Man.
So they start... The slaves start taking baskets, and then is it Wells? Wells, I think it is Wells. He's one of the people taking the baskets away, and if the baskets go all the way down, it's going to reveal the location of Ian and Larry.
Yeah.
And Larry is discovered. So is Ian. And Phil is because he's a Roboman, he's like, you're not meant to be in this group, therefore I'm going to kill you. And Larry's like, Phil? Phil? And then they have a tussle, which ends with, I think, because it was a little bit vague, but I think Phil strangles Larry, but Larry gets the Roboman head thing off
the helmet, yeah,
him, and so he also, he dies as well. So they just kill each other. And I put 2 brothers horrifyingly kill each other.
Yes.
They're reunited, and one's robotized, and so he's going to kill the other. And the other one in return they just kill each other.
And even the Robo-Man, as the helmet comes off and he's dying, he realizes and says Larry. So they both realize what's happened and then just die.
Yeah.
Pretty full on.
And then people start to escape.
Yep.
Because the Robo-Man is dead. So that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if there'd been more lead up, like if he'd been like, "Oh, Phil, I'm after Phil."
Yeah. If he had said anything like, "I think my brother is in the mines. Let me come with you. I want to try and find him while we're there." It would have had a little bit more gravitas in that situation.
All right.
Unless it was mentioned, but we both forgot it. But I don't think that was ever mentioned before, was it?
No.
No.
Yeah, let's get to the lovebirds. Okay,
Who,
so
Barbara and a man? No, Susan.
Susan and a different man.
Yes.
So I think Susan's just sitting and David comes up behind her with a fish.
Yes.
And he's all like, "Oh, there's a fish." And she's like, "Ah." She does a classic scream. And then they like wrestle. And then they're like, "Oh, we're in love." Basically.
Yeah. They have
You're 24, I'm 15.
Age is just a number.
Ugh, don't say that.
That's David's quote, not mine.
They kiss though, but they're interrupted by the Doctor and Tyler.
Yep.
So,
and I think this is where maybe the Doctor starts to. It's not said on screen, but maybe that's when he starts to go, "Oh, that maybe there's something happening there."
yes, because up until this point, the humans have basically been like the Daleks have taken over the Earth, but the Doctor has the Doctor has kind of worked out that the Daleks are in this particular place mining for a specific reason.
Yeah.
So he decides that the Dalek saucer nearby, is their base of operations, and if they destroy that, they go in there and tamper with it, they'll figure out a way to get rid of the Daleks
And prevent the destruction of the Earth.
Yeah, and it's also one of those times where the Doctor is making up a plan as he goes.
Yes.
So he doesn't actually know the full reason as to why they're there. He's just kind of deduced that they're here at this part of Earth for a specific reason. And so that Dalek saucer is their base of operations.
Yeah.
Which I think is a recurring thing, like making up a plan as you go.
Right, okay.
So I was like, oh, that's good. Ian is in the mine still, and he sees Barbara and Jenny.
Yep.
So he says to Wells, like, tell Barbara that I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And Wells like, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that, but sure. But that request never really amounts to anything.
No.
Because in the next scene, Barbara decides that she's going to get to like the main Dalek command center by pretending to have information that the Daleks will want.
Yes.
So she's like, I know of an attack, and the Robomen and the Daleks are like, we don't know anything about this. And she's like, I need to be taken to your leader to explain to them the situation. And Dalek's like, why don't you just tell me now? And she's like, you would have to act on it, like, immediately.
There's no time.
There's no time. No time to die. Came out today.
Oh.
And so manages to convince the Dalek that she's worth information. She's got worthwhile information, and gets taken to their like main control room with Jenny. So I don't know how she worked that out. I don't think that's in that scene. This person has to come with me too.
Because they never talk to Jenny, and you're right, she never says, I need this person with me. They both just go. Yeah. And normally, the moment there's a single extra person anywhere, a Roboman is like, what are you doing?
Now, this is where we find out the plan.
Yes.
So, while Barbara's being taken to the command center, we kind of cut to the Daleks talking to each other again. Classic, you know. They're like...
Go on.
They talk about how they're going to move the planet. So they're getting rid of the entire core, They've reached the inner crust.
Yeah.
They're going to get rid of the core, I think.
Yes.
And then put something there to like to move the planet with propulsion. Now, I put this 22 minutes 30 seconds. I got to go back as well because we got to go back to the Doctor for a minute because that's what I've got paused.
Right.
So the Daleks intend to move the Earth, and that's
Yes.
quite significant.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Do we find out why they want to move the Earth, or just that that's the plan? Because it feels like a lot of hard work.
It says they'll be able to part the planet anywhere in the universe. So I guess they could make another planet for them to not just be in charge of, but to move to whatever location they want.
Okay.
Also,
It just felt like a very weird... It made me think of like an Austin Powers bad guy kind of a plan. Like just an insane... I don't know. I thought that was really weird. But are you saying that it makes sense?
it could be another reason for it. Maybe they want all the planetary resources, and it's just easier if they take the whole planet.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe break it down once they get closer to their own planet.
True. Because
Also,
they are going to get rid of all the people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they have said that. They're like, we don't need the people anymore. You can kill them all.
yeah.
Exterminate them all.
Exterminate.
Now, I'm going to go back a little bit. So that was 22 minutes 30. This is 16 minutes. Because I just left out something to do with their little, like, the love story that's going on here.
Yes.
So this is the bit where the Doctor figures out part of the Daleks' plan. Now, you might have this written down, but this scene ends really weirdly. Is that what you have written down?
No, I want you to show me.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Is that what it is? They dare to tamper with the forces of creation.
Yes, they dare. And we have got to dare to stop them.
Grandfather, it's getting cold. Look.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. It's just such a sudden cut.
It's getting cold. It's getting cold. Look, and then it's like the conversation, like, and I don't mean to be like this. Don't mean to be mean to Susan, but I'm just going to show this. Like, it's like these three men.
Yep.
They all contribute to this conversation, and then she's like, "Dinner's getting cold." You know, like, it just was such a weird. Like, they were like, "Oh, Susan better say something." Well, she won't know what to say. Give her something, she'll know what to say. Food's getting cold.
And look, we don't agree with it, but this is what they said. What would a woman in 1960 say? Food's ready.
The food's getting cold, is what she said.
The food's getting cold. And yet we have Barbara on the other side of this, smashing through Daleks in a
Yeah,
truck.
that's right. And also, there's a fire there. Just put the thing back on the fire.
Let her have a thought. She's not dumb.
She's about to get some thoughts. You remember? Well,
Yeah,
actually, she's going to have some pretty negative thoughts.
Well, the moment she starts to have thoughts, the Doctor's like, see ya.
Yeah, I can't deal with this.
Another woman with thoughts?
Now, that's the end of the second episode.
Yes.
Okay, the last episode,
Flashpoint.
Flashpoint.
Which means battle.
Yes. Now,
Go on.
Ian. Sorry, I need to go back to the story because I need to do the thing. Now, something because we jumped back and forth a little bit. Ian is around when the Daleks are talking about their plan,
Yeah.
and he hides from them as they're preparing the bomb
Yep.
by hiding in the bomb. So it says
in
Ian uses a small shell as a hiding place. Little does he know that this is the penetration explosive. So he's sealed inside the bomb.
Right.
And the Daleks drop the bomb through the shaft, and he just pulls every wire at the start of the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked like he was like connecting things together. So I think it's supposed to look like he's not just randomly destroying it,
No.
but knows what he's doing. And I said, science teacher must know how.
I guess.
Yeah.
He must know how electronics work from an alien source in 200 years in the future.
Yes. So he disconnects enough wires and mucks around enough that the bomb stops going down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Robomen start pulling it up because they're like, this has failed. So we'll just pull it back up and fix it, I guess.
Yeah.
But then Ian climbs out of it and just slides down the shaft.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
It's a pretty good scene.
Now the Barbara.
And the David and the Jenny.
Well, no David.
Not the David?
The Jenny.
Not the David.
No, not the David.
The Jenny.
But Barbara and Jenny are taken to Dalek Command, basically.
Yep.
And she starts talking about, like, the Daleks, like, what's the plan? And, like, humans can't harm us, we're Daleks. And she basically, I think, just tries to confuse them.
Yes.
By just noting random points in history.
That sound like they could be related to an uprising.
Yes. So she mentions the Boston Tea Party, I think.
Yes.
Which is from, like, the American Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Where they just chuckle the tea in the river or something.
I don't know it that well. I know that it's a reference to what happened at that point.
Yes. Oh, sorry. It's listed here. So she mentions the Boston Tea Party. She involves the mutiny of the Red Indians.
Yep.
Robert E. Lee. So this is all going to come up in trivia. So we'll figure out who these things are. Or we know vaguely what they are.
Yeah.
But details.
Yeah.
And Hannibal. She talks about Hannibal. She mentions that Hannibal will cross the Alps and come down and, like, destroy some Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Daleks... She moves around the room... The Daleks all follow her. And Jenny does... I have no idea.
I initially thought that Barbara was trying to distract them so that Jenny could put their plan into action. But I don't think Jenny does anything.
No, I think she mimes doing something. And I think it might come up in trivia later. So she's talking, and I think she's miming... Like, did you see that?
Yeah.
I think she's just miming, like, doing stuff. So see her in the left hand. She nods to her, like, get started.
Yeah.
And she's just, look at that. And then cut again. Yeah, see, she's just kind of faking tearing stuff out. And then Barbara starts to try and command the Robomen to stop.
Yeah.
And then this is funny. I'll just leave this on. The sucker pulling her back. It's pretty good.
This one's even better. She just kind of runs away. She's like, ah!
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Question, now that it's on the screen.
Yep.
Is the Black Dalek a
Recurring thing.
recurring thing?
I think he's credited as the Supreme Dalek at the end.
Yes.
As in, like, the leader, I guess.
Okay.
And Supreme Dalek is a recurring thing. But it's not always black.
Yeah, that was such a weird thing because I'd never noticed it. I'd never thought that was a thing with the Daleks. That one of them is a different colour.
That does happen.
Okay.
Because as they develop, they get, like, a chain of command.
Right.
Because I guess initially they're just all the same thing.
Like the Borg,
And, yeah.
you know?
Star Trek?
Yeah.
Okay.
How they're all just like a one mass body, basically. But anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
She and Jenny are immobilized with clamps around their necks. I did remember that, against the wall,
Yep.
to await the destruction of the bomb. So they're trapped. Never fear, because nearby, the Doctor is near.
Wow.
So
Very cool way of putting it.
The Doctor tells Susan and David to destroy an aerial on the far side of the mine with Dortmund's bombs, whilst he and Tyler go into the mine itself. So they split up. Good plan. Remember that.
As usual. Why don't we talk about when they don't split up? That'll be easier.
Yeah. Just assume they split up unless we say otherwise. Mm-hmm. Now, when they come up with their plan, this group of four, yeah, I remember, and I wrote it, it's not there, that David calls the Doctor Doc.
Yes, I wrote that.
And the Doctor's like, don't do that.
Don't call me that.
The Doctor. Which is, he's like, people call me the Doctor, not Doc. which that is also a recurring thing.
Do we ever find out why? Like, is it a
I
reference?
think he just likes his name, the whole name, the Doctor.
I don't think he says the Doctor. I think he just says Doctor.
Oh yeah, Doctor.
But he hates Doc. That's the point.
Yeah, the point is he doesn't like Doc.
Yeah.
So I put that in. Ian opens the door against which he has found himself and finds himself in the lower gallery. So he slid down the slide and he finds a door, and he discovers that the Robomen and humans are they're moving stuff,
Yep.
and the Daleks at this point have decided to drop the bomb again. They pulled it up, they've fixed whatever's wrong, and they're going to drop it again.
Yep.
And so when the Robomen and slaves leave, Ian just grabs a whole heap of stuff and just shoves it into the shaft, because I guess he wants to block the bomb from going all the way down to the Earth.
Yeah.
And then the bomb does drop, and it gets just lodged. So they've done it twice now.
I was thinking, I would have thought, and I don't feel like it happens, but I would have thought one of the Daleks would be like, how is this happening again? Like, you know.
Yeah, I would have thought the bomb also might have just gone off.
That's true, because it kind of reached the end of where it needed to go, right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't all the way down the bottom, but it was down the shaft enough that I think it probably would have done a significant amount of damage.
Definitely.
They could have just used another one to actually blow up the core. But, you know, maybe it's programmed so it only blows up in a certain location.
Right.
The Doctor and Tyler make their way into the control room where they free Jenny and Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
So he explains that David and Susan's mission is to immobilize the Daleks, because they're going to get rid of the aerial, which I guess, you know, from last time, they're supposed to, static electricity is their thing.
Yeah.
At this point, they've got dishes on the, not like a plate, like a satellite dish thing on their back to send energy to them. And he's sent Susan and David to go and destroy the aerial that's sending that out.
Yep.
And the Daleks start talking to the Doctor, and he kind of babbles again, like they have a bit of a showdown. And I think, again, because this is Daleks from their past, you know, from the last time we saw the Daleks, it was in the future, apparently.
Right.
So they don't know who the Doctor is, but they're having a bit of a powwow back and forth. And then David and Susan succeed, and the Daleks all just stop.
Yep. I'll tell you one shot I loved.
Yep.
Was the perspective of the Doctor through the Dalek's eye, and it came up as that circle on the screen. It made me think of...
I put that in there.
Funny that you said No Time to Die came out today. It looked like the James Bond barrel at the beginning of each movie.
That is, that's exactly what, that comes up a lot, that view from the Dalek's eye. Story.
Really?
Yeah, and the Doctor is going on and on before that, and David says, you took a chance, I guess just standing there trying to, use words to, slow the Dalek down from just killing them completely, because the Daleks would have just shot them all.
Yeah.
And then Barbara goes over to the radio again, and is all the Robomen have to stop doing their work, stop, killing people. But she puts on a very good Dalek voice.
She does.
I thought it was really good.
But you know who doesn't? The Doctor. She does this whole voice of we have to stop doing this, and then the Doctor just runs hand over the face, and the Doctor just runs up and goes, kill them! Kill the Daleks! Do it now! He doesn't bother with the voice.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
No, I did notice that. I thought it was pretty funny.
She went to all this effort to do it, and he's like, nah, bro.
So I didn't write this next bit down, but I remember it happening. So the bomb has stopped. So it's not going to succeed in destroying the Earth.
Yeah.
But as they reach higher ground, I'm just reading this straight off the wiki, this bit. That's okay.
Yeah.
The bomb explodes, making the ground around the mine collapse. and cause an entirely new phenomenon of volcanic eruption in England.
Yes.
The Dalek sorcerer is caught in the upthrust of the explosion, and the invasion is over.
It's over. But did you... I don't know how you felt about it. When there's like the uprising of the Robomen and the humans basically pulling the Daleks apart and destroying them, how horrible was that music? Like, didn't you find it just like offensive to the ear?
Yeah.
It was like da 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 da. Like
There was
just
a lot of
screeching.
And the Daleks, I didn't write this down that much, but the Daleks do use that term exterminate more
Right.
in this episode. But yeah,
A
that
lot
music
more.
was like
Oh,
full on.
I hated it.
Now we get to the last bit. So, classic Doctor Who story. The problem's been solved. It's time to wrap this show up, right?
Yep.
So they end up back at the TARDIS. The Doctor and Susan have a bit of a, like, I guess a weird conversation where he's a bit like, you've like grown up and blah blah blah, but he's also a bit like, but you're still young and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I'm just going to go into the TARDIS and
Replace your shoe.
replace your shoe. I'm just going to fix this. And he disappears in. And then there's a conversation with David, Susan, Ian and Barbara.
Yes.
The four of them are there. And David and Susan, like David clearly wants to like have some alone time with Susan. So Ian wanders off, I think first. Or Barbara, one of them does.
I think Barbara... Ian keeps talking to them. Barbara's like,
we gotta go.
give them some space. Let's roll.
Yeah, so they go into the TARDIS.
Yes.
But part of me was also like, do they know what's about to happen? Because Barbara was really like, let's go. But I think it is probably more the give them some space. Give these two lovebirds, this 20-year-old and this 15-year-old, some space. Oh, dude.
That's how I read it, but that's because I didn't know what was about to happen.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I was wondering about your reaction to this. So at this point, what did you think was going to happen? Were they just going to say goodbye to each other?
So what I thought was going to happen was these two, Barbara and... Sorry, not Barbara. The David and Susan were going to have a little moment, and then she was going to go into the TARDIS, bringing him in and being like, grandfather, please let me bring him. He'll be useful, and we're in love, and I love this old man comparative to me, and blah, blah, blah. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
I did not expect what happened, which is... You can say it if you want to say it.
No, I no.
The Doctor locks... He basically tells her, I've double-locked the TARDIS.
Yeah.
You need a place... Well, basically, because from the beginning of this story arc, Susan has been talking about how she has no place to belong.
Yeah.
She has no place to call home. And the Doctor has recognised that and said to her, you're a young woman now, of all of 15. You need a place to put your roots down and call home. So I'll be back, and I'll see you later, mate.
Yeah.
And just leaves. Well, they have a kind of a nice conversation, because he says, step back, I want to look at you, and...
Do you want me to play? I'll just play this a little bit.
Play that little bit.
It's just a couple minutes.
In. Now move back, child, where I can see you.
Iconic.
During all the years, I've been taking care of you. You in return have been taking care of me.
Grandfather, I belong with you.
Not any longer, Susan. You're still my grandchild, and always will be. But now, you're a woman too. I want you to belong somewhere, to have roots of your own. With David, you'll be able to find those roots, and live normally like any woman should do. Believe me, my dear, your future lies with David, and not with a silly old buffer like me. One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs, and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. Goodbye, Susan. Goodbye, my dear.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Like that does come up more times.
I figured because of the way he delivered the speech that it was going to be an important thing that's reflected on.
Yeah. So
You look a little emotional. You need a drink.
I just think it is quite impactful. I think that, you know, this is the first time that a companion leaves, and it's interesting that they didn't leave of their own accord, really. The doctor was like, you're staying here.
Yep.
And also, knowing what is to come, this is quite a significant moment.
Okay. Because I want to ask you a couple of questions, and I'm okay if the answer is I can't tell you.
Okay. Sorry, you go.
You better speak first, because maybe you'll say something that prevents me from asking a silly question.
I was going to give you... I don't think anything that I will say is a spoiler.
Okay, well maybe you should say that first then.
Okay, because this isn't a spoiler because it's about the actress.
Yep.
So this is her last regular appearance.
Okay.
Okay. She does return, but not as like she doesn't come back onto the TARDIS or anything. Like, she's not like a regular cast member again.
Right. That was going to be my question, because I was surprised by that. For some reason, I had it in my head that she would be in the show a lot longer than this.
No, a season and 2 story arcs. That's all she gets.
It's amazing.
So, you know, I think the very first, like earlier when I said when someone leaves, give you a bit of a rundown of like what happens to that character.
Yep.
Or that person. So, let's start with the character, because we can get into the actress with trivia.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Susan leaves here now, and there's a few audio stories set during the post-Dalek invasion when they rebuild and everything. I can't go too far into the future, but I'll give you like her initial life.
Is that because it could relate to what happens on the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
So something happens in the show later on where Susan's not in it, but Susan's not in the show, but some stuff that happens in her life is referenced in the show, basically.
Okay.
So it gives away a spoiler if I go too deep.
That's all good.
So her and David do get married. There's actually 2 major accounts of her future. So initially, before her canonical thing happened,
Yep.
it was thought that she and David, they have a few kids. I think they have 3. I think they named them Ian, Barbara, and someone else. I think it might be David Jr. or something. So David gets a lot older, obviously, but Susan still looks very young because she's a Time Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a Time Lady. So
She's a time lady.
So,
so she is...
well,
Or you
this
can't
is
say.
one account.
Okay.
So there's like 2 accounts.
Right.
So this account has them, they have children together. They actually adopt 3 orphans, and they call them David Campbell Jr., because his last name is Campbell.
Right.
Barbara Campbell and Ian Campbell. So named after Ian, Barbara, and David himself.
Okay.
And in that account, David gets older. She remains looking quite young, but they manage to kind of like, she just disguises herself as older.
Okay.
For public appearances.
Yep.
And that causes frustration between the 2, because he knows he's going to die and she'll be like left, and you know, they've also adopted these children who will probably grow old faster than she will. You know what I mean? Like, it's quite sad.
So they do age, but it's at a different pace. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So David actually does die in an encounter that I can't tell you about.
Sure.
Now, another account is that, and this is the one that's deemed like the canon.
Okay.
So David and Susan, they get married and they live their life quite normally. Like, so I guess she does age, but they have a child together called Alex.
Okay.
So his name's Alex Campbell.
Okay.
And the next time, from her perspective, that she can remember, the next time she sees the Doctor, he's Paul McGann, 8th Doctor.
Oh.
So she doesn't see 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
Or any more of the first.
No.
Wow, okay.
So she sees the 8th Doctor.
Yeah.
She will meet the other Doctors in an event within the show that I don't think she can remember because of what happens in it.
Okay.
But she sees the Doctor in his 8th incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where something significant happens that I can't then go into, because then that impacts something that happens in the future.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, so one question I was going to ask you, you've kind of answered, which is this the end of her in the show? And you've answered that for me.
Yeah.
The other question I was going to ask you is...
I'll tell you about... When we get to the 8th and 9th Doctors,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happens to her and her husband and her son. Yeah. Because that does... You'll know by then. Like, you'll be like, what... Something will happen in the show, and you'll be like, well, what's happened to them?
Explain.
Yeah.
So is she... So my whole thing this whole time about thinking that she's not actually related to Doctor Who was wrong, or can you not say?
I can say...
Okay.
So, it is never revealed that whether she and the Doctor are truly related.
Okay.
But she always refers to him as grandfather, and he always refers to her as like my dear Susan or granddaughter.
But she ages like a human being
Well,
in the canon?
kind of, but so can Time Lords.
Oh, okay.
So there's a story with her where she returns to Gallifrey, which is their home planet. That's not a spoiler, but she goes to their home planet, and she mentions to them that she hasn't used her real name in years.
Oh.
That she adopted the name Susan when they reached Earth and has just kept it.
Yep.
So, but another character in that same story acknowledges the fact that she has telepathic powers far superior to most Time Lords.
Oh.
So they're like, that she might not be, she's not human, but there's kind of like a, she might not entirely be one of them either.
Okay.
So it's normally just kept as unknown and mysterious.
Right.
Because there's a storyline where she returns to the sense sphere with the sensorites.
Right.
And they're like, we need you to go there because you've got good telepathy.
Yes. It's amazing because that was kind of a side note reference in that story arc.
Yeah.
And then they've turned it into a thing later, like a bigger thing later.
Yeah.
Now, another question, which I don't want you to answer, but I'm just thinking now, is, because I never even thought about this, if she's actually his granddaughter, that means there's a generation in the middle.
There is.
But we can't talk about it, I'm guessing?
We can't.
That's okay.
But
I can't believe it took me this long to put that together in my head.
Well, we'll probably get to a point where, look, it's probably not going to be until like we get to the new series.
Okay.
Where I can be like, this is like his family tree.
Okay, and that's fine.
And there's, when we get to the home planet, it could be called Gallifrey. We haven't heard it yet. But we will talk about like how Time Lords come to be.
Okay. All of that ahead of us.
All that has. I don't want to give you too much.
No, and I appreciate that because it's just interesting to talk about this is going to make sense in the future, and then we can talk about it then as well.
Yeah, look, some of it will never make sense. But,
Right.
I think they deliberately keep it ambiguous because it is, at least for the foreseeable future, it's very rare that the Doctor has any family.
Okay.
So the fact that his first companion on the show was his granddaughter,
Yeah.
and then there's no other real family that comes up.
Is its own mystery.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Do other characters question that? Or is it just something that he explains?
some questions say, some characters will be like your grandfather, like they'll say it a bit sarcastically.
Oh, okay.
So they sometimes aren't sure, or they don't think she is related to him.
Right.
But I think her character develops beyond this. Like, in the show, she really is like a screaming damsel in distress.
Yeah.
And she really develops into like a strong, independent character.
Because it's pretty weird that he says goodbye and makes that big speech, and because she's shocked about what's happened, she says nothing, kind of walks off with David kind of a bit sad, and then that's it.
That's it.
Because
She leaves the TARDIS key on the ground.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, that's the smartest thing in the world, because anyone could pick it up and use that for who knows what in the future.
Yeah, and it's got some other abilities, the key itself.
I wonder if that specific key comes up in the future, and it's like, I have this because your granddaughter left it here, you idiot.
I don't know if that happens, but it could.
And the other question I have is, which will get answered, so you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Do Barbara and Ian, after this at some point, or even in the next episode, go,
What the hell just happened?
are you insane? You just left your granddaughter.
I don't know. I haven't seen the next story.
How good is that? So we're both going to discover that.
But I think they were both... they both didn't say anything.
Yeah.
The Doctor just said his thing and then took off. So I think the start of the next episode will probably be right from where this left off.
Yeah.
Now... Trivia?
Let's do it.
So I'm going to talk mainly about Carole Ann Ford for a minute.
Yes.
So Carole Ann Ford, this is a big trivia, but in that last scene she's seen crying. Those are real, proper tears. Like, she's properly upset that she's leaving.
Yeah. So it wasn't her going, I'm done with this show?
No, she wasn't really angry. She said she wanted to leave because her character had developed, which is kind of correct.
Well, we talked about that almost every episode.
Yeah, so she was getting tired of being like, a screaming child, really. Mm-hmm. And also, she was quite young. Like, you don't want to be... If you're... A lot of actors get concerned about being typecast.
Yep.
And so I think she wanted to go and do other things. So...
you know what's amazing, though?
Yeah.
The way that the show now develops, and there's a new Doctor every few seasons, it has almost insulated itself from that problem for actors. You will never be typecast as the Doctor because there's heaps of them, and you're only going to be in there for a short time.
Yeah. Well, she was a side character.
Yeah.
But yes, I know what you mean.
But even side characters.
But you think of someone like, in the modern era, Karen Gillian's a companion of Doctor Who, and now she's Nebula in, like, the Avengers movies. So she's gone on to, like, stardom.
Yep.
Or, like, Matt Smith, he plays, like, Prince Charles, I think, in The Crown. Like, he's in lots of bigger things too. And, I mean, David Tennant just is, like, in everything. So,
yeah.
Yes. In fact, I'm actually quite excited for when we get closer to the modern era, because I think there's a lot of actors that you will recognise from other British shows. Because, like we've mentioned before, they need a whole new cast each episode. So they're going to come across other actors to kind of bring it in.
For sure. It's also very rare now that I watch a new show without going, oh, I know that person from something, and check an IMDb and it's just some obscure role. And I bet that's going to happen as we get closer.
Now, Carole Ann Ford, she makes some recurring appearances. She goes on to other shows. I mean, there's a list here, but probably nothing that I mean, that we know, but there's a few things there in
Yeah.
the 60s and 70s. Now, in the 70s, so she actually remained quite close friends with William Hartnell because she was quite new to being famous, I guess.
Yep.
And so he was a bit like, this is how you deal with things. So
Should I not look at the screen?
maybe just don't look at the screen.
Okay.
So when he died I'll tell you when he died, because this isn't going to affect the show. He dies in 1975.
Okay.
She was devastated.
Yep.
She then became ill, unrelated. She became ill after that. And in 1977, she had an illness where she lost a lot of weight and couldn't talk. It's like she lost her vocal skill.
Cords?
Yeah. No, she didn't lose her vocal cords.
Oh.
Just like the ability to speak.
Okay.
So once she had recovered, she didn't really do a lot of acting. She instead taught to politicians and business people how to speak.
Okay.
So how to do eloquent speeches and how to, I guess, project your voice and all that kind of vocal training. She went into that.
Right.
She then started to do some returns to playing Susan, so mainly audio, and you can tell that she has done a lot of vocal work, because when you listen to her in audio, she sounds very practiced. And we might, when we do a special episode or something, listen to one of those audio stories.
Yeah.
Because when she enters a scene, her voice, you can just it's has presence.
Okay.
So she's obviously done a lot of work.
Yep.
So that's all about Carole Ann Ford.
Wow, that's
She left
interesting.
because she had very little character development, but
Yeah.
now the character's really developed.
Which is strange because every other character, including Doctor Who, has character development on some level.
Yeah.
Of the TARDIS crew.
Ian and Barbara have both, I think, developed
Yep.
a bit. The Doctor has also softened a lot.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And she was left to just be kind of screaming and... Yeah, I get where she's coming from there.
Terry Nation, who wrote these stories,
Yeah.
he was the writer, and David Whittaker, I think his name, Whittaker, is the story editor, but Terry Nation didn't write the speech that the Doctor gives at the end. That was David Whittaker.
Okay.
So I found that interesting. The main writer of this set of episodes didn't actually write the goodbye, see you later scene.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it feels like it's setting up a lot of things for the future. So you'd think Terry Nation would want to write that.
Yeah, considering that he wrote the first two. Well, he wrote a lot of the first season.
Yeah.
Now, Jenny.
Jono, yes.
Okay, so there's some trivia with Jenny.
I feel like this is going to be good.
It's not going to be.
Spill the tea,
It's
boy.
not. It's not long. It's not long.
Okay.
But I thought you'd find it interesting. So originally, they knew Carole Ann Ford was leaving, so Jenny was going to be set up as her replacement as a companion in the TARDIS.
Oh, I see.
So she originally was going to go with them.
Yep.
But there was a bit of uncertainty about whether the show, how far on into the future the show would continue, or if it would continue. So that just didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
But I thought you'd find that interesting, this sad person who's always the world's ending and whatever.
I see.
It would suddenly end up on the ship.
Well, a perfect replacement for someone who's always complaining and screaming.
I don't think she does. Jenny doesn't do a lot of screaming though.
No.
Now, don't look at the screen.
I'm not looking at anything.
There's nothing really else to add because a lot of the stuff we mentioned last week, like the vetoed and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So we've kind of covered all that.
Yeah.
It is. I think at the time it was the most watched episode.
Makes sense.
I guess because there was a lot of hype as to what was going to happen.
Yeah, with the Daleks trying to destroy the world.
That's it.
That's it.
Susan's gone.
Pretty weird. That I tell you what, that's not what I was expecting from the end of this story arc.
No.
So it did get me.
But she does come back in that, like, as a guest at one point.
Yeah, almost like a cameo.
Yeah.
Would you call it?
Well, she's in it for longer than I guess you'd expect, but
Okay.
she's only back for like an episode.
Okay. Pretty weird.
Pretty weird.
I feel like we're going to have this weird feeling every time there's a major character change on the show.
Yes.
And we've got 60 years to look forward to of it.
I think next week will be interesting too.
How they deal with it.
Yeah, because there's an aftermath. Like, what happens next. And we still have a few story arcs to go, but the next one is a bit of a shorter one. So hopefully, it means we might have a bit of a shorter episode. Sorry, people who have listened to this for like an hour and a half or whatever.
We have had quite a few big ones recently, but...
It's The Rescue,
which
I believe is 2 episodes. It's 2 episodes.
All right.
So
it's been a while since we've had
a short one.
Yeah.
So we'll go with 2 episodes.
Yep.
And it's called The Rescue.
See, I'm already thinking in my mind, do they decide, because basically there's been this massive thing happen on the Earth, and maybe you can't tell me, but do they think, let's go back in time and try to prevent that from happening at all?
I don't think they would do that.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't seen this story arc, so you could be right, but I don't think they would try and do that.
Okay.
Because
you can't change time.
Future. Well, if they go back and fix it, does that mean they never went there with Susan? And you know what I mean? Like, would screw everything up.
Remember what he said in the Aztecs? You can't change history with not one line.
Yeah. That comes up again.
Yeah. Well, also that scene, I'm assuming that scene that you pointed out and said, hey, this comes up in the future. I think that comes up in the future.
It does. Yeah. You just have to wait like 40 years. But yeah. Anywho, I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, my dude.
Do we rate it?
Yes, of course we rate it. We do with every story arc.
So out of 13. Now, this was tricky because I think for me, I need to balance the nostalgia of it.
Okay.
Like the first time a companion leaves with the story of it. Mm-hmm. But I still think it's a good story across the 6 episodes.
I agree.
So I'm going to give it quite a high score.
I think I will too, relative to my other scores.
I think I will give it a 12 out of 13. I think it's a very. I think in a lot of ways it still holds up. And if you're a Doctor Who fan and you haven't seen it, it's very easy to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I get that totally.
So I'm giving it Peter Capaldi.
I know that old fella.
Out of Jodie Whittaker.
If I'm thinking of the right guy,
probably.
Older dude?
Yeah, he's an older dude.
Yeah, it is who I'm thinking of.
He becomes the Doctor at some point.
I assume.
There you go.
I will give it a 10.
A David Tennant.
I don't know
David
if
Tennant.
Yes. I could be wrong. Maybe I gave that score to the Planet of Giants, but I don't know. Actually, I'm going to give it an 11.
That's a Matt Smith.
A
classic bow tie wearing.
Is he the young hip millennial one that I said before about?
I don't know if it's right to call him millennial, but because there's things that happen with that character.
Well, I suppose the Doctor is not a millennial.
Millennially?
Well, he's not that, but he's also not a millennial.
And we found the word that Alex can't say.
He's not a millennial, is he?
No.
It's not about that word, it's something about those words together.
No, but Matt Smith is the youngest actor to play the Doctor.
Yeah, and he's kind of like, oh, I'm so young and cool and...
Well, we reach our young hip Doctor before him. Without giving anything away, because Matt Smith is 26 when he's cast, and I think he's 27 by the time it comes out. Mm-hmm. We will come up with Peter Davison, who I think is 28 or 29 when he's cast.
Oh, okay, so still pretty young.
Yes, the 5th Doctor.
And pretty soon.
Well, in 4 Doctors' time.
I think in...
It's soon, yes.
Yeah, relatively soon, but also... I think a lot of Doctors relative to William Hartnell are going to be pretty young.
Yeah.
Because he was an old fella.
And look, I did reveal the year that he dies.
Yeah.
So we are in 1966, 67-ish. No, sorry.
64.
It was 63, 64. I think we're approaching 65.
Okay.
So he dies in 1975.
Wow.
So, yeah.
There you go. What a lovely, sad ending. Well, the ending to this story arc was sad.
And, I mean, when he leaves, because that's not a spoiler, he does leave, I can talk to you about what he does after.
Okay.
It's nothing bad.
I wasn't...
Sorry, the way you looked at it was like...
Well, I didn't know if you were going to be
scandal or
like, die. That's
he
what
just
he does
dies immediately. That's not true. And then I think when he does leave, that's when we'll do our special episode with the document. It's a docudrama.
We've both got words we can't say.
Yeah.
And I look forward to that docudrama.
All right, I think we're done.
Done.
Wrap this show up.
You always say it like you're going to say something else.
One day I will.
One day. Thank
I will
you.
come back.
Yeah. Does he? From what you've said, I don't think he does. He just kind of said that to her.
I said she sees him again when he's the 8th Doctor.
Oh, so I guess technically it's the same person.
Yes.
Or being.
He does come back. And she's probably like, where have you been?
Where the hell have you been?
And also, I'm old and now apparently you're like 30.
This is weird. Remember that time in the Aztecs?
There was a hot old woman. We go back to Kamika.
Now you're 30. Is that why he goes back to the Aztecs? He wants to get back with that old woman
He
again?
doesn't go back to the Aztecs. I don't think we go back.
I thought there was a significant scene in the Aztecs. Or
Yeah.
Oh, they watch it or something.
They watch us.
Well, if they don't go back...
Yeah, we'll watch it.
Someone goes back. Anyway, we're done now. Thank you for listening. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, thefanandthefool@gmail.com. Send us questions, comments. If you hate us, love us. Rate us on podcast things.
Yep. All those things.
All those things.
Particularly iTunes.
Particularly iTunes.
Yeah.
Also, to find everything, link tr.ee/thefanandthefool. It's a link tree.
And the link tree is in the episode description.
Yes.
Thank you for listening.
And
thank you for
goodnight.
coming, Alex.
Okay. Me or Susan's son?
What are you doing?
I'm reversing the polarity of my ultrasonic screwdriver's power source.
Reverse the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.
I just reversed the polarity.
Reverse the polarity.